Dr. Lewis, thanks so much for this opportunity. I'll provide very brief opening remarks because I really think the questions can better dictate what we talk about and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the audience. But just say that for many people, the Office of the National Cyber Director and the position itself, the National Cyber Director, are a brand new and possibly not well understood concept. I would say on some days that would include me. It was a position that was brought into being by law by the National Defense Authorization Act in January of 2021. I was nominated for that position in April, but wasn't confirmed until July. It just takes time to get that through the process. So it was authorized January. I came into being in July, and it was appropriated. The money came into being such that we can then resource the office about 3 weeks ago. So to say that it's new and nascent is perhaps an understatement. That being said, I'm currently talking to you from the U.S. Naval Academy, where we're running an offsite of the people who currently comprise that office. There are about 20 of us at the moment. We've built out the big ideas about what this organization would be accountable for, what value would add. I'm going to mention that in a moment or two. And we propose that we're going to build out to probably about 80 people in the next 6 months or so. That for the White House, standing alongside the National Security Council, it's actually quite large, but it is, at the end of the day, too small to do all the things that might be in the mind's eye of people who think, what does a National Cyber Director do? So in a nutshell, what this position was created for and what we propose to do is to not introduce yet another power into this space that would then, through hierarchical domination, direct or script the efforts of all the entities, organizations, people, persons that essentially operate in this space. But it would do one thing above all: create coherence, connectivity, leverage for all the parts that are already in this space, such that we propose, if you're a transgressor in this space, you've got to beat all of us to beat one of us. That's a new proposition. It's a fundamental transformation of the way we've been proceeding in this space for a very long period of time. I'll just give 3 examples of where perhaps that value might be added. The first is in driving federal coherence. We know that there's a Department of Homeland Security. It's got an organization known as CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and it's the on-the-field quarterback. It's in charge of ensuring that we have a coordinated on-the-field set of activities to defend federal infrastructure and at the same time to provide the coordination of services to the private sector for the defense of critical infrastructure. And yet, at the same time, we have a number of departments and agencies who have direct relationships with the private sector. NSA within the DoD has a relationship with the Defense Industrial Base. Department of Energy has a relationship with the energy sector, and so on and so forth. That, for many in the private sector, is hugely confusing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's sometimes a source of competition and occasionally conflict. We need to sort that out. We need to make it such that that is, in fact, a feature, not a burden. It's not something that you need a PhD in government to know how to deal with us. And that if we learn something or are able to produce something on any one of those interfaces amongst ourselves or to the private sector, that we can take advantage of that at every interface. Again, coherence. The second broad opportunity is to drive public-private collaboration. I use that term advisedly. That's not division of effort. That's not information sharing. That's not creating common data sets. It really must be collaboration. Why? We learned after 9/11 that we kind of no longer had a garrison that was one and the same as sanctuary. We also learned after 9/11, 20 years ago, that we had failed to connect the dots from an overseas view based upon national security means and methods and a domestic view based upon domestic law enforcement or perhaps consultation with the private sector. But I think what we really learned kind of in the fullness of time wasn't that we had simply failed to connect the dots. We had failed to combine our insights, our intuition, our hunches, our shards, our shreds, our half facts. We'd failed to connect them in a way that we could discover things together that no one of us could discover alone. That's the real story of 9/11. And both of those features, garrison is not sanctuary, and we're unable, using a single view, a single soda straw inside of a stovepipe, to learn enough to know what's happening to us or how to defend ourselves in cyberspace. That's true in cyberspace times 100, times 1,000. So we need to move to a fundamentally different footing. If we do what we've been doing for the last 10, 20, 30 years, if we simply sped that up and try to get better at division of effort, we'd only fail more slowly. We need to fundamentally change our perspective where you need to beat all of us to beat one of us. We've actually set something like that up over at the Department of Homeland Security. It's called the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative. Wouldn't be the government if it wasn't an acronym, JCDC. But essentially by law, for the first time, by law, this law is now a year old, we are authorized to have private and public sector people on the same floor plate, physical or virtual, share information that's granular, timely, actionable, so that we can co-discover, co-mitigate on the fly. That's new, that's different. Our British friends have done that, our Israeli friends have done that, they've achieved great success in that. We propose to do the same thing. The third kind of thing, and I'll then close with perhaps a bottom line and we can go to questions, is that we need to know what our strategy is, our national security strategy, our national cyber strategy as a component of that. Cyber's not independent of that. And we need to know at the end of the day whether it's working. So the Office of the National Cyber Director has a formal responsibility to assess success in the space. That can't be assessed unless we first have the strategy. So we'll help devise the strategy. We will then assess that, and not just in terms of whether the dollars have achieved what we expected, but have the roles and responsibilities achieved what we expected? Are the priorities what they need to be to achieve what we expect? There's got to be some quantification and qualification in that, but performance assessment is a large part of our job. I'll just close with the following. When a transgressor looks back at us in and through cyberspace and tries to figure out how to hold us at risk or how to perhaps tease away some value from us in cyberspace, they typically look not just at the value that they might accrue, of which there is much, but they look at the means by which they would do that. Now, most people who don't know a lot about cyberspace, which be the vast majority of people who simply use it, they're all app natives, not digital natives, would think that what a transgressor would look first and foremost at is the technology. Is there something in the technology that's weak or flawed or not properly established that I can take advantage of? That's not what they do. What they look at first and foremost are the roles and responsibilities. Can I beat one of these parties and the rest will stand idly by? Turns out that's true most days. That's what happens. I can beat one of you and the rest of you would just stand idly by and thank your lucky stars it wasn't you, right? The roles and responsibilities are completely misbegotten. SolarWinds, nobody was defending that pipeline. Colonial Pipeline, nobody was defending, right? You know, the difference between IT and OT and so on and so forth. We need to get the roles and responsibilities right. Second thing a transgressor looks at is people. Are the people the strongest link in this kind of system, or are they the weakest link in the system? You all know the answer to that question. Too often they're the weakest link in the system. And I don't by that mean the people who have cyber or IT in their job title. I mean any one of us will click on the wrong link at the wrong time. That's what happened in the Colonial Pipeline business, is one person clicked on the wrong link. The system shouldn't be that fragile to start with, but it is on occasion. And it was such that all they had to do as a transgressor was to find that one weak link and down the system comes. So what do we do in return or in response? We need to get all three parts right, roles and responsibilities, the people piece right, and the technology right. Make ourselves resilient and robust such that we're a harder target. Proactively defend those systems. They don't defend themselves. At best, they're defensible. We therefore must defend those. The zero trust architecture is really all about that. And we need to align actions to consequences, meaning if you behave well in this space, you deserve support. If you behave badly in this space, you deserve consequences. And we need to use all instruments of power to do that. Again, that's a pretty fast skate across some thin ice as about what the National Cyber Director would do. I've not described its role vis-a-vis what the National Security Council does, what CISA does, what the sector risk management agencies do. Hopefully we'll get to that in the questions and answers, but I've given you a down payment and I'm looking forward to your questions so we can have the discussion you would prefer.
Well, sir, thank you. It certainly gave us a really comprehensive opening.